All right, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Culture Study. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jack, joined by my fellow co-hosts.
Giovanni.
All right, and Giovanni, what do we have for us today, this week?
Today we're gonna be talking about Blackpink. They had a recent comeback a few days ago, and we're gonna talk about it since I don't know, like from what I've seen on the internet and on different communities, it's kind of a hot topic. I mean, with Blackpink, it's kind of expected every time they come back. It's something is either being blown out of proportion or appreciated greatly. So yeah, just a little backstory. I think. Are you familiar with Blackpink?
I am not. I am not.
There's such a huge delay. So a little bit of backstory on them. They're going on to their 7th year, I think, next year. And so they're pretty old, but they're kind of like on the same level as Twice, just a year younger. They have two concepts: Black, which is like the powerful, fierce side of them, and then the Pink, which is like softer, more feminine. And in this album, it's safe to say that we saw both sides very clearly. So Born Pink is an 8-album song. 8-album song? An 8-song album that was released after 2 years of wait. And the way they did it this time is kind of similar with their last album. They did a pre-release, which was Pink Venom first, and then a few weeks later they dropped the actual album. They did that with How You Like That, and then that led up to the album. So I guess let's just get straight into it. The first song is Pink Venom, the pre-release. What did you think of it?
I remember when it came out, you told me to listen to it, and to put it simply, I don't think either of us had the most positive opinion on it. I think is the way to put it.
Yeah, we were in a voice chat when it dropped, and I was gonna keep it to myself, but then after I heard like a minute of the song, I was like, Jack, listen to this real quick and tell me if you feel what I'm feeling. And yeah, it wasn't like our reaction to it wasn't positive at all. It was very, I don't know, because it's a hard song to kind of digest. With I don't know, it's just kind of like if Blackpink did a Gen 4 song, that's what Pink Venom is. And at first I didn't like it, and then 2 weeks later, almost 3, I still don't like it. I don't like the majority of the song. The only part that I do enjoy is the chorus because it's really addicting. Like I've seen TikToks with that audio, and it just sticks with me all day.
This was also the one that had like a lot of, if I remember correctly, like samples or references that we made mention of in the IVE like group review, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the point we kind of made there was that like we didn't think the samples and references were made all too well. Like they kind of just seemed randomly inputted at times, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like the 50 Cent, you couldn't get $1 out of me reference when I heard it. Like when I gave the song a full listen, because I heard about like this being referenced and stuff, and I heard it and I was just like, that like again, it kind of just didn't seem like it fit in a sense. Like I don't know what it was. Like I went to read the lyrics, and even then I was just like, what is the sort of correlation other than wanting to like make a reference, you know? Like I don't know. And then similar to Gio, I don't know what it is about like the song but like I didn't like it the most, you know? Like obviously there are some points where like the vocals sound really nice and they're really good, but there's other points where I'm just like, this isn't my cup of tea in terms of musically, you know?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's interesting ever since, well, the next song that we're going to talk about also has a sample. And what's interesting to me is it's kind of like a sidetrack, but also kind of related. There's been like a few releases this year that have like major samples in them. But it's like less than a handful, maybe like 4 or 5. And I don't know, people are starting this whole K-pop is turning into a sampling fest. When let's say like the 90% of music that's being released has like original beats. And it's kind of like, I don't know, like people are like starting this trend that doesn't exist. And I don't know, it's kind of like people are like, oh, what is K-pop going to turn into? Oh, the creativity companies are getting lazy by using samples and stuff. And I don't know. We saw this with Pink Venom, and I don't know, it didn't get the same reception as Afterlike or what was that other song? Well, Red Velvet's Feel My Rhythm. And I don't know, it's kind of like, where is K-pop going from here? If companies and producers are going to start using like big name, like popular samples in their music.
I feel that. I understand that sort of thinking, you know. It's always like it's always going to be sort of like a topic when it comes to music, because everyone's just wondering, well, how is the sound going to evolve? What changes are going to be made, you know? And obviously, you know, while music sometimes sounds similar, it's like you can obviously tell, like you can obviously tell what era music is from, even if it's not that many years apart. But yeah, it's definitely like an interesting sort of like underlying sort of thinking as you like listen to newer music, you know, like you just can't help but think that stuff, you know.
And speaking of samples, moving on to our next song, Shutdown, which is the title track of this album. What did you think of it?
Shutdown. Well, if I'm being honest, the way I described this album to Gio ahead of time before we came here on the podcast to review it, I kind of mentioned to him that like the second half of this album really kind of changed my views on the entire album, because as in terms of the second and third song, I definitely how would you put it? It wasn't that I didn't like them, like it wasn't like I just completely flat out wrote them off, but like, you know, they have their good points, you know, their high points, but there's also, it's like I don't know, it's not necessarily the strongest, you know.
That's interesting. Because when I first heard, I skipped, like I automatically skipped Pink Venom when the album dropped, because I wasn't willing to give it a second listen or a third listen at this point. But when Shutdown started playing, it was kind of like I was still skeptical 30 seconds in, because I knew somehow they were going to ruin what I was listening to, but it just kept getting better and better for me. And I don't know if like it's kind of like it was giving me like 2016, 2017 hip hop vibes, just because of how like how simple it was. Because like the beat was, I don't know, it had like hi hats, a few claps, you know, the bass line, the 808s, and the sample. It's a very simple beat, and then they just threw bars on top of it, and it was kind of giving me that like flashback to when hip hop was really like on fire. People would just turn like these beats on in the studio and start freestyling, and it would just be like a group of rappers, like, you know, like 21 Savage, the Migos, and who else? Like basically like everyone that was collabing during those years. It was giving me like flashbacks to that, and I really enjoyed it. I was like, I don't know, it's like people in my server were talking about how the lyrics were, well, they said they were trash. But to me, they're not. They're like very solid bars. Because, I don't know, it's kind of like the way they were able to, especially during Jenny's verse, I don't know, dude. Like she went off, dude. I was like, in my mind, she turned into Takeoff, and she was spitting fire, dude. Like I don't know if like I don't think you're gonna like see it that way, but she was spitting bars, dude. And then for some reason, Lisa's part was a little bit weaker in that department. I don't know what happened there. Like you give Jenny like some hard bars, and then you give the other rapper, I guess, in the group stuff that isn't as powerful or as hip hoppy.
Hmm.
But during her verse, I was like, "Yo, this is literally the best thing I've heard all year." And well, that's a bit of exaggeration. It's the best hip hop song that a K-pop group has released that I've heard all year. But yeah, just like the beat, the sample, everything about this song, I adore. It's just like it was right up my alley, and I really liked it.
Hmm. Yeah. I think this is definitely one that I just have, like, the whole album as a whole, I have to keep re-listening to like get a full solidified opinion on it, but again, this song, I'm definitely not calling it bad. It just it didn't stick out to me as much compared to, like, especially later tracks. But
Hmm.
but this one, I would definitely say this one was definitely better than Pink Venom.
Yeah, but they did everything that they tried in Pink Venom a lot better in this one.
Yeah, they especially executed better, especially like on the rapping part. Like they got a lot of the stuff down better.
And like the thing that I failed to mention was like the theme or like the attitude of the song. It really fits well with Blackpink because since pretty much the beginning, since their debut with Bombaya, they had like this what's like the safe for work way of saying it. Um, I don't know, they just had like this like bad attitude about them. Like the what's the word? What's the word?
Uh,
It's like um, it's bad, and then the next word starts with a V. You know what I mean? That
oh,
word. Yeah, yeah. They had like that energy to them, and then since it's been 2 years since their last release, they've gotten a lot of hate. And with this song, it's kind of like it's directed to the people that were hating on them and literally shutting them down. So I really enjoyed that because you don't see that in K-pop. Like Twice did something similar with Icon, or what was it called? Iconic.
I think
I
it's
think it's
called Icon.
iconic, yeah. But I just feel like this is on a different level because with it just feels like a lot more like I'm coming for you kind of vibe. And that dude, I love it. Like people were hitting on it in my server, and I was like, nah, you just don't appreciate what this song is doing. Yeah. And there's like something I'm going to talk about later on with the whole like what my theory is on the purpose of this album. But yeah, really, really good stuff.
All right, what's the next song?
The next one kind of follows suit, and it's Type of Girl. This one is it's kind of like the same thing. It's kind of like the same hip hop. It's like hip hop slash pop. Um, for the sound, and it's pretty much the theme of the song is being everyone's type and just having that like that confidence that may appear as like egotistical, but it's just like you feel yourself, you have that confidence about you. What did you think about it?
I definitely got that vibe, and I think it's the chorus part. I definitely felt it was very experimental in a way, like like they do, because you said it, like, it's a mix of stuff. So like that lead up to it, it sounds very like uh much like a pop song, but then it gets like
Hmm.
that. I don't know if you would call it a drop, but like, it completely switches up like the instrumental, and you get the rapping, and you're just it's very different from what you would expect from like after hearing like the start of the song.
Hmm. I think if I don't know, this is kind of like I was trying to save this to the end, but "Shut Down" and "Type of Girl" are my two favorite songs out of this album. Just because of the whole like the hip hop like aspect to the music, because like I don't know, I've kind of been like starved of that stuff being in K-pop, but yeah, I don't know, it's just like it hit the right boxes for me, and I don't know, I really liked the chorus with Lisa and her flow. It's just like dude, perfect, like so good. And like other parts of the song were really good too, especially Jisoo and Rose. They really like went off on this one.
Yeah, and of course, uh, through all our music reviews so far, both in K-pop and regular music, I think people should come to know this already. The inclusion of the piano was probably one of my favorite parts on this song, especially the way they kind of did it. Like, it almost followed suit with like the rhythm, I want to say, but like the part I loved the most was that despite the piano being like a very high pitch, and maybe I'm wrong because obviously I don't know too much about like the exact notes that are being played, but like from the sound of it, their voices definitely have like a deeper tone to them, if you want to say. And I like
Hmm.
how like the piano follows suit with like the beat and instrumental, where like you slowly hear it like hitting what would you call it? I'm trying to. I know this isn't the correct music term, but decrescendo, where it starts slowly going lower and lower in terms of like the notes you're hearing. Because it sounds, obviously the notes are higher pitch, but like you almost get this sense that it's going down in a sense, like the notes, and like that's kind of follows suit the way I don't know the names, but one of the members is like rapping, like it very so matches the style of rapping and vocals that they're going for. Like I think it's in the chorus or like in that area.
Hmm. Yeah, one thing that I was really surprised by, and I don't know why, like, because it's not like an uncommon thing to see in K-pop, but the way that I think it was in this song and then like a song later on, the way they layered the vocals, it's kind of like you have the main, like a member on top, like they say like Lisa during the rap, but then you have like Rose or like Jisoo, like you kind of hear like them saying or like them singing the same lyrics, but just like on a lower or higher note. And like I don't know, that really stood out to me while listening to these songs. And I don't know, it's kind of like once you like hear it, you can't unhear it anymore. So like I don't know, just kind of like it made it better in a way. And then you add like the whole instrumental, and it's kind of like the execution was really well done.
Yeah, definitely enjoyed this song a lot. Or
Hmm.
yeah, I enjoyed this song.
There was one thing I wanted to say about this one. Oh, there's a line that Jisoo says like in the beginning, and then I think she says it again later on. Type of girl you want to wife up, sign the pre. Dude, when I heard that, I was like, yikes, dude. Because it's like, you don't hear, like in K-pop, you don't have bars like that. You don't have lyrics. Like when people do like rap sections in K-pop songs, it's not well done. It's kind of more like they want to include a rap section. So they just kind of like put something together quickly, see if it works. Oh, it does. We'll use this. They don't like put much thought into it, I guess. Well, they do put thought into like I'm not trying to be a hater, but rapping in K-pop is something that it's not necessary for every song, and sometimes the rapping part alone kills the music. So I don't know. I just feel like when they start like actually like producing bars in their music, it hits different. Dude, there's another one with Lisa. What did she say? Um, I wonder if you picked up on this too when you heard it for the first time. Where is it? Where is it? Um, what? Oh, right here. All of these girls on some uppercase. She. Does that mean they all cap? Dude, when I heard that, I was like, oh, dude. It's like you don't see that in K-pop, and I wish people did stuff like this. Like some might find it cringy, but it's kind of like this is what like modern rap is, like finding clever ways to say the same thing over and over again,
Or
and like
say something that's already been said, but in a different and clever way.
yeah, dude, that's what makes like the good bars because it's just kind of like yo, did he really just say that?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I definitely feel you on that, and I can definitely feel you on that in the sense of like, I feel like the K-pop genre as a whole is definitely it's much more difficult because they're much more under a microscope, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously I can't speak too much because I don't know, what things are like over there, and all that. But like, you definitely don't see them covering a lot of stuff or like certain topics or taking certain approaches because probably due to like the fact that like how would you say it, like per se, like their society isn't as open to such topics being openly discussed, if you want to say,
Mm-hmm.
like here in America, it's no surprise to turn on the radio and hear a song, discussing like taboo topics in a way. It's like it's the norm to everyone at this point. Sure, when everyone hears a song that's very explicit, they're like, "Oh my gosh, there's a song like that," but no one's like, up and ready to fully get an artist canned because of a song.
Yeah, a good example of like very explicit stuff is WAP, I think.
Mm.
Yeah,
That's a
that
song that could
song.
never pass in like any other country, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. That song was just a bit like even for us, dude. Well, not for us because obviously we would never listen to something like that. But like people were very like anti-WAP for a bit on Twitter and stuff. But the thing about Blackpink and like this kind of gives them liberty to do stuff like this is because their main market focus is like the Western side of the world, I guess. Because it's like they're kind of popular in Korea, but they're very popular everywhere else. So the fact that they could kind of focus on not pleasing like their home crowd gives them a little bit more liberty because I'm sure you noticed this, but like in the other songs, there's a lot of F words, F bombs, and like other curse words, and like you can't like people who are trying to appeal to like the South Korean audience can't do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have that liberty, which is nice, and like something that always like drew me towards Blackpink is just kind of like that attitude that we could do what we want. Because it's very refreshing to see, especially like in an industry like K-pop.
Yeah, and the whole thing about history being bound to repeat itself, and also the whole thing about music evolving. I personally wonder if we ever get a sort of like punk phase in the K-pop world where they start kind of going against certain societal views. Like if we ever get a phase of music where like how here in America, I mean it's still popular, but like really in the 90s and 2000s did we start getting a bunch of like punk music that was all about speaking against the stuff that society didn't want like being openly spoken about in music and stuff like that. Like it just makes me wonder, thinking back to the whole point you brought up about music evolving, if we ever get certain artists that are not only bold enough to go against what's the norm, but then also like actually be backed doing it, you know, because that's why a lot of the bands here in America were successful because they had the companies to back them up, you know. And
Mm.
that's the thing that makes me wonder because, you know, obviously there are artists that can do it, but if they don't have, you know, a company backing them up, especially financially, they're not going to see success, and that's not going to encourage more artists to do it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why it's such a interesting thing to me because, you know, we've kind of talked about it a very little bit, but, you know, about like how things are very different there, especially when it comes to financing with companies. You know, it's like it's just an interesting sort of food for thought, if you want to say.
Mm-hmm. I know there's a company, or there was, no, there still is a company that goes by the name of P Nation, and it's run by Psy. He's the guy that did Gangnam Style.
Mm-hmm.
And he like got a lot of like the artists that were kind of like shunned by South Korean society, and kind of gave them that backing like financially. Because I know there's like, you don't know who they are, but there's an artist called Hyuna. She was a member of a YG group, I think, or was it JYP? I don't know, but she got kicked out of her group because of a dating scandal, and the guy that she was dating was another K-pop star or idol, and he also got kicked from his group. And since they didn't have anywhere to go, they signed to P Nation, and they've been able to like promote together, like make songs together, do like music events together. And then there's also like Jessie, who's kind of like a little bit more I don't know, she has that like American artist kind of vibe, you know? Like she does what she wants. And well, like the ironic thing is that you'd expect them to be like more happy at a place where that like, gives them that liberty to act as they want and produce the music. Recently, literally all of the artists that were signed to P Nation left P Nation. So it's kind of like we saw that these artists had that financial backing, like you were talking about, but they still decided to leave, which is kind of just lets more food for thought. And another thing that I was talking to my server about this the other day, or I was trying to talk to my server about this, but I was turned down like pretty basically instantly. I said that what if like Gen 3 idols like Twice and like all the big names, like members of Blackpink, from Twice, from what are the other big names? You know, like big names, you know what I mean? Like Red Velvet, whatever, from like the big companies. What if they like after finishing their careers, they decide to like open up their own entertainment companies or music companies and kind of just like taking control from what is the norm now and just kind of like reshaping how the industry works. But then people in my server were like, nah, that's never going to happen. And I don't know. I thought that was like a good solution because we've been saying that K-pop is dying because of how lazy companies are getting with their music. So I thought, hey, who better else to save it than the artists themselves? But apparently it's not a viable option.
And I can see both sides to it. Speaking from the Western experience, you know, you would think, like, well, in the Western side of things, it's very hit or miss because, you know, you have seen similar things where the artists themselves go on to form their own label after leaving previous ones. You know, like we saw Kanye leave and go on to form his own. We saw, you know, Jay-Z form his own and all that. But again, it's very hit or miss because, you know, Jay-Z starts his own label, and this man was trying to push other artists over a young Kanye and just wanted Kanye to make beats, and now look at where Kanye's at, you know? So it's like I could see both sides of the argument, and Kanye himself is not free of judgment. He formed his own label, and the minute certain rappers signed to it, they rarely saw success afterwards because it wasn't like they were getting pushed. And so it's like you kind of... I can understand why some people are against this idea that like the artists themselves know what's best, But like I don't know, to me there always has to be like some type of middle ground, where it's like the business is prioritized, but also the creativity of the musicians themselves gets put in a good position, to succeed.
Mm. And I figured it was kind of like it had to be like big names because we've seen like in K-pop, you've seen like ex idols come back and create their own labels, and they get like a group of like I'm not gonna say they're not talented, but they're not like
The best.
yeah, they're not like I don't want to be mean because like these people have dreams and they're just trying to take what they can, but it's kind of they're not like they're not the best. They're not like good enough to be like recognized. That's something good. And I don't know, like we see them debut, and like, oh, we didn't get enough sales. Our company went under. We're gonna cancel this, and then you never hear from them again. So with like a big name, let's say like GQ from Twice, she's very popular in Korea, bro. Like come on, like you could not tell me that if a member from Twice went up to, I don't know, other companies that she can work with and say, I want to do this. I have my name. Everybody loves me. Companies are gonna be like, yo, let's work together. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna take that. They're gonna want to have that opportunity. And her being in the position of power, she's gonna pick wisely because she's not stupid. Form a company, be able to select the trainees that she wants, build them up from her experience, and produce something that is strong enough to survive in the industry. And because it's like a big name from a previous group, all of the stands of that group are gonna come swarming in to support them. So it's kind of like I don't like. Besides, like I guess if they get really unlucky, it's kind of like why wouldn't this work?
I get that.
Yeah, but that's like a major sidetrack. We should get back on the album. Um, the next song is Yeah Yeah Yeah.
What
I
do you-
believe this song was like part of the lyrics were written by Rose and Jisoo. So I guess it's kind of like self-composed.
Hmm.
What did you think of it?
I definitely liked the sound of this one, and I almost want to say, in a sense, it felt like this was like where a turn in the album occurred. Like I don't know, even though there was how would you put it? I don't know. I just felt like there was definitely like a big tonal shift in the album.
Mm-hmm.
Like the music from this song on felt really different than the first three songs. And I think that's why, if I'm being honest, I think that's probably why I had the unfair judgment of not liking the first three songs as much as the rest of the album, is because of the fact of that shift. Like it's how would you put it? I don't really know what's the way I want to put it, but it's like this
Unexpected.
shift. Yeah, it was unexpected, and also I think it's because I'm not used to the music that was portrayed in the first three songs in comparison to like the later four. Because I definitely think I can say like the later four songs or the last four songs if you want to. Or no, wait, is it? No. How many songs is on this album? It's 8, right? Yeah, this is song number 4. Oh, it's the last 5? Yeah, 1, 2, yeah, 5 songs. They kind of shifted more towards like what I've heard so far through K-pop.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. And
Yeah.
I think that's why I call it an unfair judgment of the first three, because it's like with my first few listens, it's obviously not gonna hit with me right away, because it's like that was such a shift in what I'm used to.
Mm-hmm. I think going into the album, I said it like during like when the teasers were still dropping. I told people that I was expecting the title track to be like lovesick girls or basically like like similar to what the last five songs are, but like a twist to them or whatever. But I was really happy with what I heard from the first, well, not the first two songs, the Skipping Pink Venom, and then the next two songs. I was happy with that, and I wanted more of that. So when the change happened with Yeah Yeah Yeah, I think it's more like, I forgot what genre this is, but that change, I was kind of like, oh no, I wanted more of what I've just heard. So I skipped it. I listened to like what 45 seconds of it. I was like, nah, I'm not in the mood for this. And then I went into the next song, and then the next song, and then the next song. It was more of the same. I was like, no, what happened to this album? I was expecting hard hitting stuff, but it kind of plays into what you were saying. Since like we're like accustomed to listening to a certain sound when we think of K-pop, that difference or like that refreshing sound of like hip hop from the first three songs was like, I want this, like I want more of this. And then the rest of the songs were kind of like, I don't know, I've heard it before. There's nothing new. So like on my first listen, I skipped them, but then I listened to the album again the next day, like fully. And yeah, I definitely like appreciate the songs more now.
And
I wouldn't say like Yeah Yeah Yeah. It's kind of like I appreciate it, but it's definitely not my favorite from like the later five.
I definitely wouldn't say Yeah Yeah is my favorite off of this album. But you want to know what's something real interesting after hearing you say that I realized?
Mm.
This album is sort of the perfect demonstration of this podcast, because you really enjoyed after Pink Venom the first two songs, and you even mentioned it yourself. You've had such a break from hip hop that this kind of felt like a fresh breath of air for you. And I wonder if on the opposite side of the coin, I at first didn't enjoy the first three tracks as much as the later half, because all I've been accustomed to the past couple of years is the western side of music, where it's just rap music nowadays, because you rarely, like, I have to go out of my way to find artists and new music from different genres, whereas when it comes to rap and hip hop, it's like fully present at all times, and there's like no break from it in a sense. And that's not to say that hip hop is bad, or it sounds all the same. No, it has different subgenres within it, a ton of very talented artists. But we're definitely in a period of time, especially in the western side, where it's really difficult to find music and artists that aren't filling in from the same two genres of like pop music and rap music, which makes sense because they're the two most popular genres right now. But like, it makes it really difficult for someone like me who loves exploring new music. And I just find that funny that like you were on first listens of the album were more drawn to the rap side of it, and I was drawn to the side that sounds like what I've been hearing a lot lately, which is the usual K-pop sound.
Mm-hmm. And I was like that in the beginning. When I got into K-pop, I was like so like done with hip hop, or just like rap specifically. That when I got it, like when I started listening to K-pop songs, like yo, this is so refreshing to hear. Because like in the Western side, I don't know if like the way that I see it, like when it comes to pop specifically, not like hip hop, like pop specifically, there's only like a few names that like keep recycling every time. And it's like, okay, but like I want to like explore like, like other artists, but then it's kind of like, where are they? That's how it was for me, because when I wanted to listen to pop, but only the big names would come up. And then when I would find like a small artist, I would like listen to a few of their songs. I was like, this isn't the vibe that I want. And then I did that for a few more, and then it's kind of like, I guess pop music isn't for me. And then I went to hip hop, or rap specifically. I guess rap and hip hop, they're not interchangeable, but they're kind of like the same thing. When I went to rap, I did the exact same thing. It was like the big names. I listened to the big names, Little Uzi, Playboy Cardi, Who else? 21 Savage,
Migos.
Kodak Black.
Migos.
Who else? Migos, like big Migos, and then the Migos split off into like little, like one each. Like I was listening to everyone, and then I tried like exploring like the smaller names. I found a few that were really like up my alley, but then I literally don't know what happened to them. Like they disappeared from the face of the earth. Like for like the 2 years I found them, 2 years later, no new music, like nothing. I was like, oh, I guess they gave up on their dream, or like it's kind of like dark, but I guess I don't know, they were killed or something. I don't know what happened. They just disappeared. So when I got into K-pop, there's hundreds of groups to explore, and I was like, it's so easy to find them. They're always making content because they need to make content, or else they're forgotten. It's literally like an ocean of I don't know, people to listen to. And then after 5 years later, I'm like, okay, I'm tired of exploring all this same stuff. Give me something else. And then Blackpink gave me hip hop, and I was like, I love it. Give me more. But they didn't give me more, and I was depressed for like 5 hours.
Yeah, I definitely feel that because, like I said, it is very difficult for me to like find new artists, and like the thing that gets me like upset the most is like, like how you mentioned, like in certain genres there's just the big names, and then when I find like these smaller artists, I'm like, man, why aren't they bigger? Why aren't they like these other names? And then it's the part that annoys me the most. You go and try and like see more, and like there's not many people talking about them. And the part that gets me mad the most is because you have these people trying to gatekeep the artists, and I'm just like, you're literally counteracting the artists you're supporting. You're literally counteracting their dream by not allowing more people to know about them,
Dude, gatekeeping is one of the most annoying things when it comes to music, because I don't know, it's kind of pointless in K-pop, because no matter how hard you try to gatekeep, people are gonna find the group and they're gonna start listening to it. But I guess it's a lot easier in Western music because it's kind of like the whole mainstream stuff. Like people, or like kind of the culture only supports like the big names, so it's not difficult to like keep an artist to yourself. But and that's another thing. Like mainstream hip hop it's killing the genre, but it's also keeping it alive. And that's kind of like, that kind of pushed me away, because you only really saw the same five people in like an album, and after a while, it's kind of like, alright, so does like nobody else exist? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely feel you on that, which is why I've really enjoyed this year of music, because this has been one of the most like variety years of music for me. Like I've had a ton of my favorite artists drop music, and then I've explored different artists dropping albums, and finding out these new people and all that, and like we've definitely seen that like sort of variety come back, even with the big names alone, because we went such a long time without seeing albums from names like Post Malone, Kendrick Lamar, Joy Badass. I'm trying to think who else dropped, like in terms of like other like genres, but like we started seeing like there was a post I saw where it was like all these different artists dropped within the same year, and I was just like, it's crazy to think that when the past few years have been filled with those artists who just sort of oversaturate their content,
Mm-hmm.
And that's a whole nother topic for another time, is how badly the Western side of music handles like oversaturation of music.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and real quick, Joe, just to let you know, we have less than a minute left. We have about 50 seconds.
I think let's move on to part two, I guess.
All right. So thank you all for joining for this episode. We'll see you all in part two, where we cover the last 4 songs on Blackpink's album, and whatever Gio's about to say right now, I'll let him open up with that. But until then, see you in part 2.